some in the motion picture industry whose works are familiar to everyone, but whose faces are never seen. Jerry Goldsmith is one of those people, an Academy Award-winning musician and composer with credits for over 90 motion picture scores. Recently, the Movie Channel went to Goldsmith's LA home, and in this exclusive interview, we talked to Hollywood's most listened-to faceless talents. Take one, Jerry Goldsmith.
Music is the most emotional of all the art forms. It reaches depths that no other form of art can reach. I think that no other personal experience in life can reach. My first experience in how some people look upon music for motion pictures happened years ago in one of the first films I scored. And I went to the preview, and I would never been to a preview of my own picture before. And afterwards, come out with the executives. And someone came to me and said, music must have been good, I didn't notice it. Music for the screen serves a lot of functions. But the basic function is to reinforce the emotional, the unseen element on the screen. I think one of the final westerns, the last western I did was a picture called The Wild Rovers, and William Holden was being chased by the bad guys, and he knew what was going to happen. They were going to kill him. And to me, and I finally got wise, and I said, wait, the predominant emotion here is not the movement, which we see, it's fear. I mean, this man is very fearful of what's going to happen to him. He knows what's going to happen. So I wrote a piece of music that's very static, and I was a little nervous about it because it had never been, at least I was never a witness to this kind of scene being scored that way. But I was really trying to stay inside the character, and Blake Edwards, who directed the picture, really went along with me on that, and it worked wonderfully. And I thought, why all these years was I wasting all that energy writing all of those notes, 90% of which are not going to be heard because of the horse's hooves, but more important of all, missing the real emotional value of what music's supposed to do.
Goldsmith's craft is to communicate in a language that has no words. He got his start by composing and conducting for weekly TV shows like Dr. Kildare and Gunsmoke. And in his 30-some-odd years of scoring, he's won just about every award there is, including an Oscar for The Omen. He created the music for Psycho 2, and Twilight Zone, the movie. He's done animated films.
Nice evening, huh?
And chase scenes. Of all kinds.
Get out!
In his lifetime, Goldsmith's written hundreds of thousands of musical notes. It means many, many hours of sitting at the piano.
You can't make it happen, it happens. And I was struggling once to get a tune for a picture, and it was 3 weeks. I mean, I had a real block. And I came up here one night, and I sat at the piano, and I don't know, all of a sudden it happened. It just came out, and it just happened. I couldn't get it down fast enough, and there it was really lovely, and I don't know how it happened. You know, I guess one of the real mysteries to people is not just how writing music for motion pictures, but just writing music in general. It's a real mystery. People look at a piece of paper and say, well, what's that? I mean, what do you put on there? I mean, how do you compose music? I should use as an example of, say, a picture I just finished called Under Fire with Nick Nolte and Gene Hackman about photojournalists and covering wars in different areas. In this case, it's the revolution in Nicaragua. Before I start to write, you know, I familiarize myself with the scene. I like to be able to see it and hear it, and I use a moviola. The predominant theme running the picture were the rebels, and I had to have some kind of a thematic piece of music for them. So I scratched out an idea here. I think in this case I came up with this little motif.
It's a simple motif, but has a powerful effect.
You're a spy, aren't you?
Spy is such an unword, Mr. Price. Nobody is a spy anymore.
And you're a businessman?
That sounds good.
Wait a minute, I'm a journalist.
Is that everyone?
I needed something else to carry it along. I mean, that little motif by itself, we're going to say, aha, there the rebels are coming. No, I needed something else to go under it.
No say.
A march.
You bastard!
Something happening to us.
Or do I just say that we fell in love with the guerrillas because their cause was...
Sympathetic?
yes, sympathetic.
Part of being a film composer is subduing your ego, because you have to realize that you're going to get trampled on by sound effects, by dialogue, by indiscriminate cutting. I mean, anything that can destroy, a lot of things are going to destroy the structure of your music. And if you're not prepared for this, as Coppola says, you better stay home and write your symphonies. The placement of music in the film is probably as important as the writing of music for a film. I think some filmmakers have a tendency to overscore a picture. I mean, it was like the so-called golden days, especially at Warner Brothers, where Korngold and Max Steiner would start the music with a main title, and it would go and said end title. And eventually, the music, to me, just became pastiche. It was just white sound. It lost its effectiveness because it was a constant source there. Well, I must say that I guess, you know, I think two scores that I've written that people have really, you know, seem to be sort of classics in their mind was Patton and Chinatown. Well, Patton had 35 minutes of music in the picture, and the picture's over was 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And Chinatown didn't have much more than 30 minutes. But the key why the music was so successful is that I think that it was very wisely placed. The moments were saved that needed this kind of emotional reinforcement. And listen, I mean, it's fun to write an hour of music, but even my own scores, I sometimes feel that there's too much of it in the picture, and then it loses its effectiveness. I think that many occasions a person will make a film and they'll see weaknesses in it, in certain scenes or certain performances, and you know, music is the last thing down the road. They've tried everything. There's nothing much more they can do unless they want to spend a few $1 million and go back and reshoot. So, okay, you're the last thing. What can you do? And sometimes it's like putting too much lipstick on or too much doing too much of a cosmetic job. It's not going to cover up, you know, maybe cover up a blemish, but eventually it's going to peel away. And I think that the sparing, judicious use of music is what really makes an effective score.
Poltergeist is one of the scores that won Goldsmith an Academy Award nomination.
Poltergeist is not a horror picture. Poltergeist is a love story, a scary love story. The idea was to try to get the suspense, but yet also get the emotion. And I always felt that the emotion, the love, was more important than the suspense.
Goldsmith tells a story about Poltergeist that shows where he feels the real rewards to his work lie.
When we're recording, I conduct the orchestra, and at the same time, the picture's being projected on the screen. And I did that, and it's a long piece, and when I finally finished, it was like this. And I looked in the booth, and everybody was applauding and crying. And I said, in the booth, there's, the mixer is, and the producers and the directors and whoever happens to be in it. And I said, that's really was an incredible, for me, an incredible experience to get that kind of reaction, because that's what music's supposed to do. I was excited about it because I said, boy, this is what music for films is about.
Jerry Goldsmith, take one.